What's up, YouTube? It's Mr. Voice Man. My football IQ seems to be pretty good, as the Ravens did come out on top of the Chiefs. Most of the pregame points I ended up coming through on the postgame points. But I also want to take time to give you guys some fantasy football suggestions. I'm pretty decent when it comes to fantasy football. I've won a couple championships the past couple years. I've always been in the playoffs, so I'd like to think my opinion matters for something. So I'm going to try in my best amount of quickness to give you my top 5 quarterbacks and running backs that you guys should be watching for in your draft boards this year. And also, they will not be named Brady, Manning, Breeze, Rodgers, Rivers, and Roethlisberger. Number 5, Matty Ice from Atlanta. That's right, folks, Matt Ryan. He had Roddy White with him last year, and this time he's got another new toy to try out on the field, and his name is Julio Jones. Atlanta gave up a boatload to get this kid, so obviously they think high of him, and from the videos and footage I've seen in preseason games and practice, this kid's the real deal. And that will obviously help Roddy White's numbers because those double teams will no longer look his way. There will have to be some separation on the other side, which will allow both receivers to go deep and over the secondary for some significant gains. The running game is always a deep threat in Atlanta, and that's what they love to do in the red zone. And they always look to Tony Gonzalez as well. The guy is the league or all-time leading reception leader on tight ends. He's always a touchdown threat in the red zone. He's never afraid of getting hurt, even at his old age. So honestly, there's no reason why Matt Ryan can't do good this year again. They added a new toy on the other side of the field, and they brought all the other parts back. Defensively, it's another story, but he doesn't play defense, so we don't need to worry about it. Look for Matt Ryan to have a statistically phenomenal year this year, more passing touchdowns, probably same number of interceptions, but hey, I'm not going to fight him on that one when he's bringing in about 25 to 35 points every fantasy game. Number 4, going to go with Josh Freeman from Tampa Bay. Yes, I know, same division. When he went against the teams that should have beaten him, he looked horrible. When he went against the teams he should have beaten, he looked amazing. But that's what happens in your rookie season. Mike Williams grew along with this kid, so now that they've had a year to build on that chemistry, I look for the two of them to continue that amazing pace that they set last year. The running back circus in Tampa Bay, that's no longer a problem anymore. LeGarrette Blount is your lead running back. So now that that's all squared away, add Kellen Winslow into the mix, another exceptional, gifted pass-catching tight end. Excuse me. Look for Josh Freeman to have another year that's, if not better than the one he had last year. It all depends on the continuity of the left side of the field. Mike Spurlock, he showed flashes last year, but he was never quite healthy. If he stays healthy, Freeman's going to have a breakthrough year. As if last year wasn't good enough, he's going to build on that. Kid's 6'4", he's strong as anything else. He's about 235 pounds. Any linebacker is going to have problems tackling him on the open field. So that's my number 4 quarterback for this year. Number 3, I look to Sam Bradford from the St. Louis Rams. He brought this team back from obscurity on his own 2 shoulders. He made something out of nothing with receivers that were retreads from wherever. I mean, Laurent Robinson, kid's gifted when he can stay healthy, and he's way too frail and fragile to be a receiver in the NFL. The kid needed to add some weight. Went and gave Ravens traded Mark Clayton out to the St. Louis Rams. Bam. Mark Clayton found himself when he had a quarterback who knew how to throw to him. Clayton went and got hurt. Out came somebody else, Danny Amendola. Clayton made something out of him. Whoever they throw in front of this kid, he knows how to make things work with them. And that is a remarkable thing for a man who had never played a step in the NFL before. Steven Jackson's back, another year older and a little bit more worn down. Because, I mean, he plays for the St. Louis Rams. You know they're going to be running a ton. But this year, Josh McDaniels is the new offensive coordinator. And if you remember, Matt Castle was the quarterback under Josh McDaniels in New England. And he went and got himself a $60 million contract in Kansas City. Obviously, something's going to happen magically in St. Louis. I look for them to make the playoffs as a wild card team this year. Most people will probably laugh in my face, but frankly, I think it can happen as long as this kid's at the helm. Sam Bradford's my number 3 pick. Number 2, Tony Romo. Guy broke his clavicle last year. The offensive line was horrible. Most of his receivers either sat down, got injured, or just didn't care. Roy Williams is out, Des Bryant is healthy, Jason Witten and Miles Austin return, and the running game kind of in flux, but Felix Jones and Tashard Choice look to be a hell of a 1-2 punch out of the backfield. This team is going to be vicious this year. Wade Phillips is gone, Jason Garrett is now calling the shots as the head coach. This team is going to be dynamic. And also bringing in the defensive coordinator, Buddy Ryan from Cleveland. I can't speak more about this offense. It's insane. I feel like I should own the entire team for my fantasy league this year. I mean, Miles Austin, you know what he can do. Des Bryant showed what he can do in a limited basis. Just imagine what 16 games are going to get him. The kid's ridiculous. Jason Witten, consistently 60 catches, close to 1,000 yards, always a red zone threat. He's Romo's favorite weapon. Plain and simple. Tony Romo, 3,000, 4,000 yards, it's not out of the question. He's amazing talent when he can stay healthy and upright. And they went and got him a younger offensive line, so I think that's going to happen this year. And I hate to be a homer, but my number one quarterback to choose this year on your fantasy team that is not named Brady, Manning, Breeze, Rodgers, Rivers, or Roethlisberger is Joe Flacco. Now, if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan, please, for the love of God, if I hear you say, "Oh, Flacco's never going to amount to anything because he's still so inconsistent," don't. Okay, just stop talking. Last year, your main problem was one thing. Anquan Boldin, Derek Mason, and TJ Houshmandzadeh have one thing in common. They are all possession-type receivers. The only difference being Anquan Boldin knows how to get yards after the catch. Derek Mason and Housh, plain and simple, they catch, they're tackled, they fall down. Flacco was not at fault for that loss against Pittsburgh in the playoffs. The defense just came unglued, let Pittsburgh back in the game, and when the game was on the line, Flacco made the throws, Housh and Q dropped the ball when it mattered most. So, enter this year. Offensive line still in question, but adding Bryant McKinney this year as a left tackle, Michael Lohr, you better watch yourself, that protects his blind side like nobody else has before. Offensive line being in flux, though, you have speedsters on the outside now with Lee Evans, David Reed, and Torrey Smith, and we can finally stretch the field. That opens the intermediate routes for new rookie Tandon Dawson and Anquan Boldin. They know how to get yards after the catch. They turn around, they bump into those linebackers, everything happens there. Pass-catching tight ends and Dennis Pitta and Eric Dixon. I love what this team has potentially on the field. As long as Flacco has time in the pocket, and he has time, that is the key. Timing is everything with Flacco. You keep him upright and you don't flush him out of the pocket because he is a pure pocket passer. He is going to shred every single defense. Going against the NFC West, mind you, that is always an easier feat for 90% of the quarterbacks in the NFL. So, just to recap, Flacco, I've already forgotten them already. Flacco, Freeman, Sam Bradford, Matt Ryan, take your pick. They're all amazing quarterbacks, but those are my top 5 in no random order that I think you guys will definitely want to look to as you're evaluating your other skill positions. And you can always go ahead and get that extra number 1 receiver because one of these guys, they're guaranteed to be on your board. Sorry I couldn't get to running backs. My time is of the essence here, but those are my top 5 quarterbacks you guys need to look at. I'm Mr. Voice Man. I'll have pregame for Ravens vs. Redskins tomorrow night just before kickoff, so make sure you tune back here on YouTube.